Hi, IBD. I'm Meredith Heyman. This is Industry Insights. Thanks so much for joining me. There are some weighty issues facing biotech stocks in 2025, from expanding obesity treatments and artificial intelligence uses to a new president. How healthy is the medical sector for investors? Well, lucky for us, Investors Business Daily biopharma and medtech reporter Allison Gatlin is just what the doctor ordered to help break it all down. Allison, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey Meredith, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this year, 2025, how do you expect biotech stocks performance to change compared to 2024?
I don't necessarily think we're going to see a lot of change just in the first part of the year because a lot of what biotech stock investors are watching is how the new administration goes forward with tackling issues like FDA PDUFA dates and new directors at each of the main agencies with the FDA, NIH, CMS. A lot of these agencies will face some loss of employees as people kind of watch how the turnover happens, watch the change in administration. So I think the first half of the year, we're going to see biotech stocks do what they've been doing, which is mostly trading sideways, slightly down as we figure out what the new administration means.
From a new president to new advancements in genetic editing, how will this affect biotech stocks in 2025?
So the genetic editing space is getting a lot of attention in terms of new approvals. We have a new drug from CRISPR and Vertex. We have a new drug. It's a gene therapy from Bluebird Bio. Both of them work on sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. So investors are going to be watching to see how those drugs continue their launches. Both drugs are designed to be tailored for the patient individually, which means that it takes some time for them to actually be created. From removing cells from the patient to editing them to do their job correctly to infusing them back into the patient. That's a long process. So 2025 is going to feature investors watching to see how sales of these new products grow over time because we're still, quarters out potentially from seeing the first sales.
Now, Allison, you and I have talked a lot about obesity treatments, the growth in the sphere, and the new competitors coming to the table. How will these prospects affect biotech stocks and the medical sector in 2025?
Potentially, biotech stocks could get a little influx from the obesity space. 2025 isn't going to see any new treatments in the space. More likely, we're going to see more clinical data. Eli Lilly is being closely watched right now because they have an oral pill, which investors expect to be the first to hit the market. Behind them, there's a lot of enthusiasm for Viking Therapeutics, which is working on an injection as well as a pill. And then there's Amgen working on its injection, as well as just a myriad of competitors in the space. So we're going to be watching for more clinical data. What's going to be very interesting is going to be how these drugs are used in other indications, specifically looking at sleep apnea. Eli Lilly just won approval there for Zepbound. There's also going to be data from Novo Nordisk later this year for semaglutide. It's weight loss drug and diabetes drug in patients with Alzheimer's disease.
And Allison, you touched on this a little earlier, but how will the new Trump president administration influence the sector?
It's going to be really interesting to watch this space because there's not a lot of agreement in Trump's administrators in how they want to handle obesity drugs. Trump has proposed that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. head up the Department of Health and Human Services. If he does that, Kennedy has spoken out against the use of obesity drugs. He would prefer people use diet and exercise to lose weight. Whereas Elon Musk from the Department of Government Efficiency and Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is potentially going to be appointed to lead up CMS, they've both spoken in favor of using weight loss drugs. So it'll be interesting to see, where Trump lands on the issue because he's the one that we haven't really heard that much from.
And finally, Allison, how will artificial intelligence shape the medical sector and biotech stocks in 2025?
A lot of what I'm hearing about AI in 2025 involves drug development, specifically the clinical trials process. The ability for companies to tailor their drugs and their clinical trials more specifically to individual patient populations makes it more likely that they can gain approval for those drugs. If you can find the right drug for the right patient using AI, you are more likely to be successful.
All right, Allison, we'll be watching still early on, almost a full year to go. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Industry Insights. I'm Meredith Heyman. Stay right here on IBD for more. We'll see you next time.